Hi, welcome to She Connects with Anita Cheng, and
Matt Caroll, how you going?
this is our first live podcast and a studio session. How exciting!
Yeah, thanks for the invite. This is the first time for me as well, so we'll hold your hand and we'll get through it together.
Thanks. That's amazing. You know, it's actually really hard, like as a young female or millennial, to actually talk about property or even money, for instance. And you know, with special guidance, this program that we're holding in Fairfield HQ at the moment is all about trust, empowerment, and collaboration. And this is what we're talking about today. Matt, where are you from, and how do I find you?
Yeah, so I'm from Empowered Property Buyers, so I'm a buyer's agent. And a lot of people may not know exactly what that is or never heard of it before, but I help people basically buy a property. So if you think of a real estate agent, they help people sell. I'm on the other side, I'm the advocate for the buyer, and I can do a full package where we do the whole thing: find, research, inspect, negotiate, bid, all that stuff, or a few other sort of bits and pieces. But we're there to help people find and buy a property, which is obviously a really challenging thing to do nowadays.
Awesome. Bit of a question for you. What's the difference between a buyer's agent and a real estate agent?
Yeah, of course. Look, everyone knows what a real estate agent is. If you need to sell a property, you go see a real estate agent. They're a selling agent. But I'm on the other side of I'm on the other side of the ledger. So I'll help somebody who is searching for a property. We can do everything from that initial search, research. We'll go do the inspections on behalf of the client. When it comes to negotiating, we'll negotiate, whether that's a private treaty negotiation or an auction bid. But we're there to do absolutely everything we can for the seller. We're working for the seller. And I think, most times when people go to buy a property, they'll speak to the real estate agent, obviously, and real estate agents do a really great job of, being there for the buyer and telling them, I can help you, etc., etc. But what you always got to remember is a real estate agent is there for the vendor or the seller. That's their job, and absolutely they should be. They should be absolutely pushing for as much price to sell that property for. But at the end of the day, the buyer doesn't have anyone on their side, and I think that's a little bit confusing. That's what we're there for. We're there to be on the side of the buyer and to make sure that they're getting the best property they can, getting for the best price they can. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I've got a great network. I've got relationships built within the industry, and clients or the buyer out there can leverage that, all my networking and relationships.
That's excellent. As in, like, for a first-home buyer, I have no clue what to look for when I even walk into a property. Sometimes it's very delusional to listen to other people and other people's opinions, and I find that quite difficult to know what's right for me. I know there's always going to be what they call it, a family or generational gap where what I'm looking for is not what mum and dad's looking for, and times have changed. What sort of clients do you sort of like aim to target at, or what do you find where you, what's the word? Where do you add most value?
Yeah, I think just to touch on something you said in the question, I thought was really important. One of the messages we sort of say, which is a little bit controversial, it does upset some people sometimes, is don't listen to family and friends when it comes to buying property. And look, they're there, they love you, they care for you, they want the best they can for you. But what you got to always remember is that family or friend, do they have skin in the game? Have they recently purchased the property? Do they own multiple properties? Was the last property they purchased 40 years ago? The time changes. So when it comes to who we can assist, it does range. So first home buyers, obviously their budgets are quite low to begin with because of the strain of purchasing property. But where we can add value there is filling that inexperience gap. People that are time poor. Obviously, we've got professionals with families and they've got 1,000 things going on. We can add value by filling that gap of not having to go to inspections every Saturday and getting gazumped and things like that. And then people that have been out of the property game for a long time too. So people that might be empty nesters and want to downsize. And of course, there are buyers agents that help with investing, remote purchasing. We all can't jump on a plane and buy a property to stay also. So it's quite a varied range of how we can add value, but they're just some of the key ones.
Well, that's good. That's definitely good to know, because I find it very difficult navigating it myself. But it comes down to each and every investor that's wanting to jump into the market now or later on, but it really depends on timing. Where I see clients that I have that literally hustle 3 jobs just to get a deposit. And I guess without any guidance, it's very hard, even if they're like their first immigrants in Australia. And I find that very touching in a way where, there's professionals out there that can give you a bit of peace of mind, a bit of a hand to hold while going through this property journey. So I've been dying to ask this question to you, and probably a lot of property investors are wanting to know, what is a hotspot in New South Wales that you can see at the moment?
Yeah, as for investing in New South Wales, it's hard to say a hotspot. It's actually really cooling off for investors because of the prices are so great. What we're finding is investors are moving more interstate because of the balance between the cost of purchasing and the rental yield that they'll get from the property. Because as we all know, Sydney has just gone crazy and through the roof, and we'll monitor that as interest rates and so forth happen. But I don't see prices coming down anytime soon. It is a challenging time, but that's where we're going.
Is there any quirky property features that would catch your eye first when you walk into a property inspection?
Yeah, look, I think it starts from as soon as you walk in, before you walk in. I think it's important to not be so focused on the property itself, but to have a look around, look at the street, what's around the street, what are the neighbours' properties like. You need to start from the time you pull up and really take in the whole aspect, because especially if you're going to be living in this property, it's not just in what's in the 4 walls that forms a great part of it, but we've got to think about what's around us. As I said, neighbours, the street, and depending on what your needs are, public transport, etc., etc.
So if I was your client, right, what sort of, is there a report or something that you give me to provide your research?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and it'll depend on the type of purchase, of course. We do comparative market analysis, so we can do reports on the suburb and look at a few data points. We tend to use that a lot more when we're talking about investing, obviously, because that's when it becomes a numbers game.
Yeah.
If we're talking about purchasing a property we're going to live in, an owner-occupier, we tend to go to a little bit more softer subjects, not so much the data, because it is going to depend on what that specific person's needs are. But yeah, we're lucky to have wonderful access to wonderful software out there. We can look at where schools are and different catchments and things like that. So again, depending on if you're data driven for investments or heart driven for the owner occupier, we can cover it all.
Oh, I'm going to tell you something. When I look at a property myself, I look at can I live in it and how long I can live in it for this life stage, and also can I transfer it into an investment later.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it becomes to where you're driven. So if you're concerned about the long term, we can definitely look at where the market is from a capital growth point of view.
Yep.
So where that suburb or that market has been in the past, how fast it's moved to where it is, and where we expect it to move into the future. Absolutely. And again, it comes down to what your specific needs are. And I think that's where I enjoy my job so much, is I get that relationship aspect. So understanding what you and your needs are. There are people that are driven by the long-term capital growth aspect, and there's some people that just want to move in, set and forget, and just love where they live. So it's a case by case. Well,
that's good to know, because as a millennial, I love options, and my lifestyle changes A to Z probably every 2 years, I would say. So that's good, really good to know that you look for both aspects of lifestyle and also return on capital. That's very important to know. Has there been any challenges that you found when working with clients?
I think probably the number one challenge is if you've got a couple and we're purchasing for two people, I need to get them both in the same room at the same time to discuss what their needs are. Often, if you look at one partner to the other partner, I might be dealing with one initially in the initial stages and having that conversation. Then when it comes down to understanding their brief about exactly what they need, you'd be surprised how many times, whether it's a husband or a wife or whatever the case may be, that they think they're on the same page until they sit down together and then the argument starts. So I think it's vital from the very start to make sure that whoever I'm working with as a client, everyone's in the room, even to the point where if the kids are old enough, it's not too crazy to have them in the room either. Because you never know where input comes from, and we want to make sure that at the end of the day everyone's happy and their heart's full. So that's an important one.
Oh, that's great to know that everyone in the room can openly and express what they want to you as a buyer.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm going to be a referee, but it is important to get everyone's aspect as much so when I leave the room that they can sort their differences out and come back to me if need be.
Wow. Like, how different is the client experience as a mortgage broker myself?
Yeah.
Is I have a young couple. One of them is always more dominant and more financially aware than the other partner. Never do I have clash heads. One just takes charge and goes. But in your world, everyone has an opinion. And it may not even be ready until they're ready to buy.
Absolutely, yeah, and I get that, and I think that's even the case so much in my world that one will dominate and one will start the process. But when it comes down to, especially I focus on owner-occupier purchasing, so it's not it's obviously different for investment. But sometimes the one partner might think 3 bedrooms is enough. The next one, well, hang on, no, we need a 4th bedroom because of this, and that's when the silent partner per se finds a voice. So,
wow.
And look, it's I think every relationship that if they're truthful, they usually have one that's dominant ones. And I know, look, with my wife and I, there are certain topics where I take the lead, and there's certain topics where she takes the lead. And let's be honest, as long as she's happy, then I'm happy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're half therapists here. Is that correct?
Yeah, it can be like that.
I think so. Well, let's talk about the magic of transformation. Like, we're often hear on social media or even at real estate talks that, renovation is the key to success. Can you share a story that, you went from drab to absolutely fab under your guidance? Like, share an experience with me.
I think sometimes we can watch too many of those renovation shows because they're not super realistic. Often I'll watch them and go, how can they afford to do that for this budget anyway? Probably.
Wait, is that Channel 7?
No comment. But I guess what I'll draw on is more a personal story of something we did. My wife and I did with our first home actually. We did the classic. We lived in a home, and when we had to upgrade, we held onto our first home as an investment.
Yep.
And it comes to a point where we realised that selling that was going to be the best thing for us. So
the best option.
And what it did, it gave me some really hands-on experience. So when I work with clients, I could have a bit more of a vision of, okay, well, if you do need to upgrade, if you are going to have more kids, or if you want to sell, this is what you can do, this is what you can consider, or, do we have the right bones if we purchase this house, etc. So, with that one, it was a simple case of it needed to be modernised, and we got some quotes. It was in southwest Sydney, this property, our very first house. So it wasn't too far away, maybe about 15, 20 minutes from here, maybe. Basically, I had an idea that got a quote of what would sell it for, and then I did some investigation. And I had a plan that if I put in $1 for renovation, I wanted to make $2 on it, sort of thing.
So that's the concept.
That's my personal thing. That if you're going to go to all that effort, but it is really important to have professionals to get advice from. Obviously this is what we're doing here today, but having I had a trusted real estate agent. I talked to a couple. They're not all bad. They're all actually, most of them are pretty good. I've got some great relationships with real estate agents.
They're great salespeople.
Absolutely.
Gotta give it to them.
We got some advice, and so forth. And it was funny. It's not all about pouring, a whole lot of money into it. It's just about the right money. And obviously, just paint flooring are probably the key ones.
Yep.
It's amazing how big a difference we could do with paint and flooring. And then probably the biggest movement we did was in the kitchen, because we spend so much time in the kitchen nowadays, and the one thing you will pick up from those real estate shows or those investment shows, renovation shows, sorry, they always focus on the kitchen, the bathrooms.
Absolutely.
And that's what our focus was. So we were able to, really add quite a significant sale price on what we did. So I guess I have babbled on a little bit, but I guess the moral of the story is, as a buyer's agent, it was important for me to do things myself, whether it be purchasing property, investment properties, renovating and selling, to help me help my clients, because I'm coming from a place of I've done it myself also.
Isn't that like a saying, do as you preach? Something like that?
Something along those lines, yeah. Do as I say, not as I do. That's where a lot of people go down that path, but I'm trying to be that person who's do as what I've done as well. So I've got that experience. And look, it's not all something, sometimes we do our greatest learnings from mistakes, isn't it? And I think the greatest growths are from mistakes. So whenever you're engaging professionals, what you're hoping, I think, is you're leveraging their experience.
Right.
So and I know I've learned personally from things that I could have done better, or I should have done.
Yep.
And hopefully I can pass it on to the clients.
Right. Okay. So in terms of monetary value, because you know me, I'm always about return on capital.
Mm-hmm.
What's the quickest way to save money? What was in your story? What was the monetary value that you got back from investing $1 today?
Yes.
Back into your own home, that is.
Yeah, so at the time, we actually engaged some professionals to help me with the vision and the execution, because it wasn't my specialty.
Yeah.
And as I got older, I realised how important that is to surround yourself with really good professionals, and it's okay to spend money on that. But all in total, we were able to, we spent just under shy of $100,000 thanks to the bank. That's
actually not too bad.
But we're able to have an increase on the sale value of closer to 250,000, so just shy of that.
Wow.
So there was that mentality of spend $1, make $2. Sorry.
Yeah.
But again, it had to be worth it for the time and effort. And if I hadn't have engaged the right professionals to support me, it wouldn't have been done, because I'm not a good handyman, let me tell you. I hate painting. I don't know about you, it's the worst. But it's a good way to save money by doing it yourself.
Maybe just my nails.
Yeah, well, not me.
Oh, well. Well, that's an excellent story. So that's like 150% return on investment in your own home.
Yeah.
Ideally, maybe an accountant can validate this, that I believe that any improvement in your own home is almost tax-free.
Yeah, there is. I am actually about to do tax this year, so I'll probably tell you a bit more, but I have done some forward planning with my accountant, and he took all my details, and so we're working on the capital gains tax that we have to pay, but that's okay. It's a success fee. That's where I look at it. CGT.
Maybe you can explore that in our next episode.
Yeah. We'll break down the numbers.
We'll break down the numbers. Yeah. Sounds good to me. So I guess there's another question that I've got down here. What is your dream home, and is there a heartwarming, empowered story behind it?
Dream home.
Or what was your dream, actually? Like, a dream home, that question is very broad, right? Like, what, when you were younger, what was the dream? It didn't have to be a home. It could be a goal or action. Like, I know we're all about property here, but we're about, empowering people to find that spark. Yeah,
I think one of the most important things, and you sort of elaborated on how millennials now, things change every so often. And I think when I was younger, the dream for me was to be on the water by the beach, and have a fancy dream house there. As much as I love that still now, as I get older, I start to think I'd like to have a property on a little bit of land, so the neighbours are a little bit further away, and there's a little bit more space. Yeah, and I think, and just I probably would have envisioned a 2-story house previous. Now I just want a single story, because I don't want to climb up the stairs chasing the kids around. So how
your standards have changed.
and I guess that's the point I'm getting to. I think it's okay for your visions to evolve.
Yeah.
And as you set your goals, whatever they may be, be okay with them evolving with you as your needs and wants and situations change.
Yeah.
Just adapt to it, because the world we live in is constantly changing. We have all these conversations now about interest rates and inflation and this and that, and sometimes we understand it, sometimes we don't. But it's important to evolve with your goals and just keep moving forward. And sometimes we don't set them big enough, so they get you can set them bigger and bigger as you go.
I can't disagree more. For us, there's so many options out there, but what is the right option for me and when is that's practicality. I think that's pretty much, every millennial will experience this. Every Gen Z has experienced this, and that shows my age here today. I guess
I'll be older than you, so don't worry.
Look, gotta be honest, the baby face doesn't lie. But we gotta figure out, I guess, somewhere along the millennial and Gen Z journey, there will be a spark moment where responsibility comes into play. Like, when is it time to step up in the family? Or, when's it time to retire mum and dad? Or, what is the actual dream that you've been on? Because, we're all about trust and collaboration and empowerment here.
Yep.
What is your experience and what have you found the spark in life?
Yeah, I think...
and when?
Yeah, I think, to be honest, look, I'll give my age. I'm 43. So when I was a kid, the culture of growing up in Australia was you find a job, you work in it your whole life.
Yep.
You pay off the house you live in, and then you get the pension when you retire. But we all know that isn't going to cut it nowadays. I don't think there will be much of a pension by the time, or any pension by the time.
I'm very sad.
I get to that age. But even so, like from a lifestyle point of view, you realise, well, hang on, now that I'm at this stage, when I look at what the pension is, this doesn't provide a lifestyle that I want to have in retirement as well. So I think, to be honest, I didn't really have any financial education growing up. I had a wonderful parents who gave me a lot of values, but that financial education wasn't there because of what I just explained. As I approached 30 and I got married, that's when I realised, holy, what, I've got responsibilities here. Like, going to have a wife, I want to have kids.
30 was your magic number.
That was my magic number.
Wow.
And to be honest, I knew nothing before 30. I honestly... And to think that I'm doing this now is crazy. But I was very grateful to marry into a family that was quite accepting and loving. And my in-laws had done some work with investing. They sort of immigrated to Australia as children and started with nothing. Great story, the great Australian story, I guess you'd say.
And good on
started with nothing,
and
really built a wonderful wonderful life. The education for me started there. I'd have conversations with my in-laws, particularly my father-in-law. He gave me a book, and I did a social post on this the other day, and I forgot the name of the author, and I should have looked it up. But he gave me a book to read, and it was a dated book. It was like from the 80s, but all the philosophy of investment in property was still remained the same. Obviously, the numbers changed. And then that led me to the next book, and that led me to, as I got older, podcasts and YouTube and education. And I can't sort of hammer home enough the importance of self-education. Have that drive within yourself, because if you wait for someone to tell you, you'll be waiting a long time. And obviously there is a lot of voices out there, and sometimes you've got to weed through it. But when you find the ones that deliver that give you that spark, that inspire you, jump on and ride the wave, and take ownership. You can do it yourself.
Wow, that's great wisdom. So from your father-in-law...
I told you I'm older. So.
From your father-in-law to Matt Caroll here today, there's a lot of wisdom.
Hopefully I can get my kids to listen. They don't listen now, so hopefully in time.
Look, I've recorded this for you, so...
Yeah, I might need it.
This is the link.
Yeah.
I guess one last question before you leave us today. What is the quirkiest thing a client's ever asked you to get a feature on in one of your properties that you've looked for?
Quirkiest thing...
Like, it doesn't have to be normal. That's just some...
Yeah. I've got a story, not so much a client I had, but a friend of mine moved into a house that had a really quirky addition.
No way.
They moved into Queensland, up to Queensland, and when they bought this house, it had a tree house out the back, and you might think, oh yeah, nothing untoward there. But when they sort of got in conversation, had a look at it, it was actually an adult tree house. And
wait.
No, calm down. No.
Wait.
Nothing like that.
What?
What I mean is the treehouse was accessible from the 4 neighbours that met on the boundary, and I think it was more of a like once the kids were quiet or in bed, they went up, had a few drinks, and it was like a little home pub or home bar, I guess you'd say. So I didn't actually see it with my own eyes, but when I heard the story and was maybe a little bit jealous, that's one way to hide from the kids. I might have to get one of them rope ladders so you can pull it up so they can't follow you. But yeah.
Wow, and I thought escape rooms were just a fun and games place.
Yeah, as long as
it's actually reality.
As long as you get the escape there, I think it'll be fine.
Well, that is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Well, I can't imagine my property to have a tree house for adults. That's crazy.
Hopefully not too high, too many ladders to climb.
Look, I have vertigo, so no thanks. No thanks. But no, thank you for coming on the podcast, and we should have you on a live workshop here at Fairfield HQ, ready to rock and roll.
Looking forward to it.
From June, right? So can you tell us what you bring to the table?
Yeah, so I think, first of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm very excited by it. I really, I guess, get a kick out of being able to help people, and that's why I focus a lot with my clients on, as I said earlier, purchasing owner-occupier properties, so our properties we're going to live in ourselves. So I think hopefully what I plan to do is when I come is just to give a couple of real easy, actionable tips for people that want to purchase their property that they can do themselves.
Yeah.
So and these tips are going to be things. They're my 3 things that you would do even before you step into your first open house, and they just sort of revolve around how to surround yourself with the right people and how to get your expectations in the right place, because often we think, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a house and it's going to be a mansion, it's going to have this many bedrooms, but obviously our budget doesn't always allow for that. So hopefully it's some actionable education for those who come, and hopefully get the ball rolling for them.
Right. Okay, I think that's very exciting, and that's super important for anyone who's looking at buying property in the next 1 year to 2 years, or even in the next 3 months. I found, like with my clients myself, they view on average probably about 7 properties before they find the one.
Yeah. And
hopefully, Matt can tell us live what it's all about.
Yeah, hopefully, just to trim that time down, so when they step into their first property, they're already on the front foot and they're in a position where they're a lot ready, more ready than they would have been otherwise.
That's awesome. Okay, no, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hopefully we can build more trust, empower more people, and also collaborate together to build a better tomorrow.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Thanks, Anita.
Thanks.